So for today's video, we're gonna do something a little bit different. I've got this mug with me, and inside this mug, I've got 7 topics that we're gonna get into the pros and cons about living here in Columbus, Ohio. And make sure you stick around to the end because I do have a bonus topic I'd like to share with you guys. Columbus, Ohio is not for everybody. I've made a list of 7 pros and cons from living in Columbus, Ohio that you have to know before thinking about moving or living here. Some of these things you'll definitely hate and others you might absolutely love. Like you, I moved here from out of state back in 2004 from Virginia. I was pleasantly surprised by what I found here, but there are definitely some big surprises I wasn't anticipating. So in today's video, I'm not gonna hold back. And I imagine by now you've probably seen tons of people making pros and cons videos about living in Columbus, Ohio, and just about every video is the same. Well, not this one. I'll be taking a unique angle on Columbus, Ohio that I can bet you've never heard of before. So make sure you stick around to the end because I'm gonna riff a little bit about my experiences moving here back in 2004. My name is Oliver Chapman. I'm a Columbus, Ohio realtor. And before you say it, I don't want your money. I just want to be a resource to help you make a smooth move because when I moved here back in 2004, it was a mess and I wouldn't wish that upon anyone. So please contact me with the information down below if you have any questions about moving to Columbus, Ohio. For our first topic today, we got weather. Weather pros. Columbus has 4 distinct seasons. The summer and fall months here are quite nice. You're not going to feel the impressive heat like the South where all you want to do is sit in the air conditioning all day. Summer temperatures here range in the low 80s to low 90s most of the time. And the summer and fall months also get a lot of sunshine, which means if you like to enjoy the outdoors, music festivals, golf, or other outdoor activities, most of the time you're going to have great weather for those occasions. But I'm going to throw in a quick con. It can get pretty sticky here as the humidity rises, which attracts a lot of pop-up thunderstorms in the summer. But those humid days, they don't last very long and we quickly get back to more favorable conditions. Now, falls are absolutely spectacular though. By far my favorite time of the year living here. While not technically a dry season, our falls here are warm, they're mild, they're relatively dry compared to the rest of the year. And we get a lot of sunshine in the fall as your warmer months start to wind down. They're excellent for taking in Ohio State football games in late September and October, and you're also gonna get those cooler evenings perfect for throwing on a hoodie and sitting outside by the fire. Cons, winter and early spring here absolutely suck and there's not much we can do about it. It's not so much the cold weather. Winter sometimes can be relatively mild here to other northern cities. Temperatures generally only hover around the low 30s during the day, which isn't too bad. You quickly get acclimated to it, but there's the lack of sunlight, which is absolutely soul crushing. There's periods when weeks go by where I feel like I just haven't seen the sun. It's just perpetual gray thatched skies that linger on and on for long periods of time. So seasonal depression here is real. Quick pro though is we only get 22 inches of snow annually on average, but that quickly turns into another con because that just means we get a lot of cold, steady rain with wintry mixes, making driving and just running out to the car absolutely miserable. After the long winter, you have teasers in spring, which starts here around late March. Alas, you can get some mild days with some sunshine, but it can still snow in April. And then it just rains every single day, it feels like. So springs are a slog to get out of because it's just wet and cold. And you're starving for consistent temperatures, but you won't get that until May, unfortunately. Our next topic today, let's see what we got here. We got healthcare. Let's get into healthcare. Pro, there is no shortage of healthcare options here in Columbus. We are so fortunate to have 3 major healthcare systems offering a wide variety of world-class healthcare. First being the Ohio State Wexner Medical System is nationally ranked in 9 healthcare specialties. It's the #1 hospital in Columbus and the #2 in the state behind the world-renowned Cleveland Clinic. So if Ohio State can't get you fixed up or have what you need, the Cleveland Clinic is only 2 hours away for specialty healthcare. Ohio State is also a leader in cancer research and treatment with their James Cancer Hospital. They are a nationwide leader in research, clinical trials, detection, and treatment options. We are so fortunate to have them in our community. Then you have Ohio Health, which is another major leading healthcare provider. They have 5 top 100 hospitals in the country just here in town. So no shortage of specialty doctors. And if you're having a baby, they have some awesome maternity centers at Dublin Methodist and Riverside Methodist hospitals. And when we had our first baby at Dublin Methodist, I remember getting messages from friends that are asking like, did you guys just give it like birth in a Hilton or something? It just looks that nice. Lastly, there's Nationwide Children's Hospital ranking in the top 10 for 10 years in a row, coming in at #6 nationally for pediatric specialties by US News and World Reports for best of the best pediatric care. It's a beautiful hospital located downtown and that's recently gone through some major renovations and expansion. They also have a Ronald McDonald House on site to house sick parents with children receiving care. And not to mention, they also saved my son's life, which I'll forever forever be grateful for. Now for the cons. Ohio ranks almost last in the country for health, which makes the cost of healthcare more expensive in our state. We could do such a better job and start more initiatives to live a more healthy lifestyle. Maybe it's the weather creating a more sedentary lifestyle and or the food and lack of healthy food options for many who have to live in our food deserts, but something must be done by our leaders in Ohio if we're going to live long and healthy lives. Next topic, museums, festivals, and activities. Now, Columbus has some really cool things to do, especially when it comes to entertainment. I'll give you a list of a few things to do with pros and cons. First, let's talk about the Columbus Museum of Art. This museum has a lot of cool American and European modern and contemporary art. It's great for art lovers because it has new exhibitions and special events all the time. And they also have programs for families and activities you can try out. But the museum is not as big as others in the bigger cities, and you have to get paid to get in, although there are free days. Next is COSI. This museum is full of interactive science exhibits for both kids and adults. They have special exhibits like the Marvel superheroes and an awesome planetarium. However, it can get very crowded, especially on the weekends, and tickets can be very expensive for larger families. The Ohio State House is perfect for history lovers. They offer free guided tours that teach you about its rich history and beautiful architecture. And it's also a free place to visit, but the tours do have limited hours, especially on the weekends, and younger kids just might not find it as interesting. Franklin Park Conservatory and Botanical Gardens is another wonderful place to visit. It has year-round indoor and outdoor gardens, butterfly exhibits, and seasonal events. It's perfect for nature lovers and other workshops, and it also offers educational programs. However, the admission fee can be high for families, and some exhibits might not be as impressive as others in bigger cities. Next, you gotta check out German Village. Now, German Village, it looks something straight out of Europe. You have brick-laid streets and brick, cottages all throughout the neighborhood, and it's on the National Registrar of Historic Places. This truly is one of the best assets of our city. It's the largest publicly funded neighborhood in the country. Every few years, they actually take up all the bricks in the street and they'll lay them back down because they just want the experience to be that good for people who are both living and visiting the neighborhood. And if you're down there, they have an awesome park. It's known as Schiller Park. Schiller Park is massive, and it's a really cool place to go out during the summer and just enjoy the weather. Take your dog too. There's fishing in the pond. There's basketball courts. There's a lot of things that you can be doing in Schiller Park. It's kind of like if you were visiting like New York Central Park, and that's just Columbus. I know it's very small, but I just think it's one of those places that people can go out and enjoy. The Columbus Arts Festival showcases artists from across the nation, and it has live performances, food vendors, and it takes place along the scenic Scioto Mile. But since it's an outdoor event, it depends on the weather if you can get in, and it's very crowded. The Ohio State Fair is one of the largest state fairs in the entire country, with rides, concerts, agricultural exhibits, food, you name it. It's a family-friendly event with something for everyone. However, the size and number of visitors can be overwhelming, and the cost can definitely add up quickly. Red, White, and Boom is one of the biggest fireworks displays in the Midwest and is celebrating our Independence Day. It includes a parade, has live music, and various vendors. The downtown has massive crowds with traffic congestion though. Next up is the Scioto Mile, and it's a scenic downtown riverfront with parks, fountains, trails, and event spaces. Columbus has poured a lot of money into the Scioto Mile, so our residents can go down and actually utilize our river that runs through it downtown. Forever, I didn't even know that river was down there. Finally, the Columbus Zoo and Aquarium is famous for its diverse array of animals and interactive exhibits, and it's curated by Jack Hanna, and it's a fantastic family outing with seasonal events like Zoo Lights. However, the zoo is very large, which can be very tiresome, and to cover an entire day with young kids, and admission, again, like a lot of things these days, can be pretty costly. So I was only able to mention a few of the things that you could do in Columbus and what we have to offer. If you want to know more about the entertainment scene before you make a visit or move here, comment below CBus or check out the link in the description. I'll send over a whole list of things to do only a local like myself would know about that you can't find anywhere else on the internet. For our next topic, let's see what we got. Food. Pro. Typically when I travel, I want to know what the food scene is like, and I'm all over Yelp diving into photos of food at different restaurants and seeking unique experiences to explore. And that's probably due to having lived here in Columbus for 20 years now. I've grown accustomed to some really good food, and you can even say I'm kind of a food snob because of it. Well, that's kind of what my wife would say at least, but we're a food-centric city, and there's two things Columbus Knights do remarkably well, and it's we hate other sports teams and we pack as many calories as humanly possible into one dish. So diving in, let's talk about everyone's favorite food, pizza. Our pizza game is really strong, and hot take here, but I honestly think our pizza rivals any city that I've been to. There's a wide variety to choose from, but quantity doesn't always equal quantity. So to stay relevant here, your pie better be pretty damn good. There's no shortage of really good pizza joints. Although lesser known in the culinary world, we do have our own style of pizza, which I found unique when I first moved here. Columbus loves thin crust style pizza, preferably cornmeal crust on the bottom. And we cut our pizzas into small squares, spreading toppings from edge to edge. Now, my personal favorites are Rubino's and Bexley and Minelli's on the west side. Then there's Adriatico's for deep dish style pizza, and it's on OSU's campus, and it is a must try. You can also pop into any one of our dozens of Donato pizzerias, and they're spread all across the city. That's the tip of the iceberg when it comes to pizza, and I know it's very tribal, so I know viewers are out there saying, WTF, these are not the best pizzas. Well, so what? They're my favorite. So everyone will have a different opinion. Next, we have some really awesome fast casual options that are actually unique to our region. Piata is for Italian street food, which you don't see anywhere else. Then you have Brassica for Mediterranean, which is like an upscale Chipotle, and it's run by one of the best restaurant groups here in town. Then there's Bibimbap for Korean barbecue inspired bowls, and many more that I simply just can't get to. Downtown Columbus has exploded with high-end restaurants to venture out on weekends and special occasions. We're also home to Cameron Mitchell restaurants. Now, Cameron Mitchell is one of the top restaurateurs in the country, and he operates several different restaurants all over our city. I think we're very lucky to have him. Recently, I took some guests from out of town to his newest restaurant called Cento, which is down in German Village, which means 100 in Italian, celebrating his 100th restaurant opening. And we were blown away by the food and service that we received. It was first class all the way. The service alone was deserving of a Michelin star in my opinion, and speaks to the Midwestern hospitality Columbus is known for. Lastly, there's all kinds of insanely good ethnic food options to explore, as Columbus is quickly becoming a melting pot of different cultures. I seek these out daily, and some of the best restaurants I've ever been to are tucked away in these unassuming strip malls and are spread out through all over our city. Now, shout out to Zizia Western Chinese in Upper Arlington, some of the best hand-stretched noodles I've ever had, with tons of chef-inspired Chinese dishes. Now, if you want to decide, just go ahead and say hello to Dan in front of the house. He is one of the owners and always makes my visits feel like it's like eating at home. Once again, that's service. And if you're over that way, you'll also want to venture into the Tenzuke Market in Upper Arlington, which caters to our large population of Japanese expats. Bet you didn't know we had that. There's several Japanese and Chinese restaurants in that shopping center, and pro tip, if you like sushi, then stop into the actual market where you can buy whole fillets of sushi grade fish for pennies on the dollar, what you would pay for at a top sushi restaurant. So you're welcome in advance if you find that. Cons: since we're in the Midwest, comfort food is a staple, but if you're health conscious and you're on the go as much as I am, finding healthy food options can be really hard to come by. Now, you can run into a lot of food deserts. These are neighborhoods where access to affordable and nutritious food is limited or even non-existent, but it's not all bad news. There are efforts underway to improve access to healthy foods. For instance, Columbus has several farmers markets that offer fresh, locally sourced produce. And for our next topic, we're gonna talk about housing. Housing pros. Columbus has tons of cool older style architecture. It really does feel like an older world city, especially the closer you get to downtown before the urban sprawl. Victorian Village has tons of cool Victorian style homes as you go down Neal Avenue. German Village for its European style brick cottages and brick laid streets that were once reserved for German immigrants working in our brewery district. Then you can head up to Worthington for gorgeous colonial and federal style homes. It looks like something out of New England. A lot of old Tudors and large craftsman style homes in our older suburbs such as Grandview Heights and Upper Arlington. Then you have mansions along Broad Street heading into Bexley, where the elites once rode horse-drawn carriages into our downtown, and many of the houses still have carriage houses, making cool auxiliary living spaces. And there's even a Frank Lloyd Wright-inspired neighborhood called Rush Creek in Worthington. All of these older neighborhoods have mature tree-lined streets, and I often find myself gazing at these homes in the summer like this is something out of a movie. Everywhere you look, there's some really cool old and timeless style architecture that we're very proud of. Relatively affordable compared to other cities our size, with a median price point of only $360,000. And if you live in a large city now, I know that sounds unreal to you. Cons: well, everything here is traditional. We lack modern style homes, and that could be frustrating for many people that are moving here from some of the coast and out west. Most of our suburbs are getting filled with these cheap looking production built homes, and they're just uninspiring. They can seem stale and sterile. Developers are buying up cheap farmland with little to no land characteristics, so it just makes everything very boring. And I find their finishes are very basic and neutral. There's nothing really exciting about them. So look, Ohio's kind of a boring landscape. You would think somebody would try a little something different to get inspired and offer better neighborhood features with our parks or something, you know, with newer neighborhoods that have more amenities that are built in. Everything is built to maximize developer pockets, and because we're in a housing shortage, they don't feel the need to go into the extra mile to lure people in. You get some basic plots of land, no landscaping, no neighborhood parks in a lot of the cases, no playgrounds for kids, no green spaces to take pets, etc. You get what I'm saying. But I'm just saying there's a lot left to be desired, and to make matters worse for these cookie cutter homes, they're all in small lots built with houses that feel like they're built on top of each other, especially in the entry level price points. And because we don't have a lot of natural water features such as lakes, streams, or rivers, they build these ugly retention ponds, and I think they just want to fill that void. But I'm like, guys, just leave them out. They just look horrendous. But I digress. As a realtor, I just feel underwhelmed at times, depending on what area and options I have to show to people, depending on what they're looking for, because they want both a great house and a pretty area. So I always bookmark special neighborhoods where you can find some pretty landscapes. You just have to know where to look. If you're having trouble finding what you're looking for, please reach out to me and I'll share my top neighborhood list, which I've compiled. Our next topic. Ooh. We got our bonus. Now what you all have been waiting for is our bonus section. I'm just gonna riff a little off the cuff here today because I just really wanna explain to you like what Columbus felt like for me as an outsider when I moved here back in 2004, because this was definitely different than what I grew up with in Virginia. Now let's talk about the size of this city. Columbus is actually the perfect size of city. It really is not like such a big city where you feel like it's just this big like sprawling metropolitan area with bad traffic and a lot of crime. Columbus is like a really good sized city because you can get, like we discussed earlier in the video, anywhere from, you know, less than 30 minutes, but it's also like not such a small city that like nothing's going on here. I mean, every single weekend there's like things that are going around the city. So whether you have kids, whether you're single, whether you want to go out on dates, Columbus just has so much to offer for everybody in those categories. Now there is some surprisingly beautiful aspects of living in the heartland once you get outside the city and just drive the countryside a little bit. So in real estate, sometimes I get to go in these outerlying rural areas. When I go through them, they're actually so quaint and pleasant. It really gives me a chance to reset. Every time I'm out there, it kind of reminds me where I'm in Virginia, because you have some rolling hills and countryside. And, you know, I just think it's really good to recenter sometimes. And sometimes I like to go down to Hocking Hills. It is a major tourist destination. They actually get over 1 million visitors a year, but it's right, and it kind of feels like the start of the Allegheny Mountains. And it just has that old, like country, old world feel. There's so much to do in that part of the state. So definitely go down there, get an Airbnb, and just take in some nature. Not to get political with you guys, but I think the other good thing about our city is we're a pretty purple state, a very purple city, meaning there's both people on the right and left, but you know, I don't think our government ever tries to like really steer people one way or the other. I always felt our government here was pretty neutral, especially from the city of Columbus. And I think that's really important because I don't think anybody feels like it's too overbearing one way or the other. Yes, you're gonna have people on both sides, but again, being very neutral, it always makes elections pretty fun. Now for the cons. The landscape here can be pretty boring if you're coming from a mountainous region or coastal city. I can see how one would think it's pretty depressing, but we are a flyover state in the Midwest after all. But I hate that term because I actually find the people here are very smart and interesting. And luckily, Ohioans do like to travel, and you can throw up an OH anywhere in the country, and most of the time you're gonna get an IO back. We take great pride in that. For our next topic, what do we got? We're gonna talk about sports. Sports, pros. Football is a religion in Columbus. So before I state the obvious attraction, let me share with you Friday Night Lights for high school football. Since 2000, 8 schools here in Columbus have won state titles, several crosstown rivalries, and our local news does an excellent job following all of the action. So schools here are very passionate about their football programs, and Ohio has always been considered one of the top states in the country for high school football talent. Over 40,000 boys play high school football in Ohio, making it the third most of any state behind only Texas and California. I bet you didn't know that, which leads me to Ohio State football. Look at the big smile on my face. Love them or hate them, Ohio State football has always been one of the most consistent and elite football programs in the country, with only 5 losing seasons since World War II. It's a way of life around here, and if you love college football games, go down to the Horseshoe. It's freaking electric. It's a bucket list experience for any sports enthusiast, and it sits on Ohio State's campus on the banks of the Olentangy River. My best Keith Jackson impersonation. But then you have Sundays in Columbus, which we actually sit equal distance from Cleveland and Cincinnati, where you get both Bengals and Browns fans, and these two fan bases absolutely can't stand each other. But if you want to add more fuel to the fire, Shire, there's a lot of Pittsburgh Steelers fans here too, which are rivals of both those teams as well. So it's a dysfunctional, I call it hate triangle that I like to call it, because we're watching a lot of games on the weekends and people at the local sports bars and local breweries are absolutely going nuts. And if you're a hockey fan, we have the NHL Blue Jackets who play downtown in what's known as the Arena District, which is also home to our AAA baseball team, the Columbus Clippers, and our MLS team, the Columbus Crew. And the Crew, I'm proud to say, just moved into a new stadium that was built called Lower.com. And it's a very intimate atmosphere, an extremely passionate fan base, great place to take kids. And proud to say we've taken home the MLS Cup a couple of times, including last year. We also host all of USA men's national games, which for some reason, they love coming here to play. Maybe that's because it's the only place they can beat Mexico, so they keep coming back. Now, I think we owe that to our fans here, because the atmosphere every time you go down there is next level with passion for soccer. And lastly, for you golf fans out there, we get to host the Memorial Tournament, which is a signature event on the PGA Tour at Jack's Place that we like to call it, Muirfield Village in Dublin. Every year it attracts one of the top fields in all of golf and has long been a major source of pride in our area. Muirfield Village is a top 15 ranked golf course by Golf Digest and a really special place to go and watch a golf tournament. And oh yeah, we have 3 top 100 courses in the country. And that doesn't include OSU Golf Club, which was designed by Alistair McKenzie. You know who that guy is. He designed Augusta National. Yeah, that's right. And there are several other stellar golf courses in the area that have hosted major championships, have a lot of history, and we still to this day host US Open qualifiers. And Columbus is home to Jack Nicklaus. It's only fitting that we have some world-class golf courses too. Now for the cons. We don't have an NFL, NBA, or MLB team. Those are the top 3 major league sports in the United States, and even though we're a top 15 city in terms of population, we don't host a single team in any of those sports categories. So for most Columbus residents, you either have to adopt a Cincinnati or a Cleveland team depending on their family roots. But to me, it's a badge of honor in my book to host pro sports franchise in one of the big 3 major sports leagues. So as a big sports fan, I wish we had at least a team or 2 to fill that void, because it just feels like something is missing here without one for a city our size. And for our last topic of the day, we got travel. Travel Pro, we have a lot of cheap direct flight options to escape warmer climates during our winter season. So if you want to get away during the cold and wet seasons, Southwest is offering several nonstop destinations to warmer climates. We also have other economical options through Frontier, Spirit, and Allegiant. They're serving up direct flights to various Florida cities like Miami, Jacksonville, Tampa, Orlando, as well as Cancun, Vegas, New Orleans, and LA. You might not know we have 2 international airports at John Glenn International and Rickenbacker. Our main airport at John Glenn is relatively small and it's easy to navigate. I used to have a roommate who was notorious for leaving the house 45 minutes before his flight like an idiot, and before his flight took off, but he never missed a flight, which I always found amazing. I think you can only do that in Columbus. So you can get through check-in and security pretty darn quick. And John Glenn did announce, however, they are adding another terminal which will afford even more new direct flights and international destinations. Next pro for travel in Columbus is our highway system. It is fantastic, and you can be anywhere you want to be in less than 30 minutes driving, which makes the entire city pretty accessible any time of the day. The rush hour traffic around our outer belt I-270 is generally only lasts about an hour during the mornings and evening commutes, which is pretty nice if you're coming from a coastal city where traffic can be an absolute nightmare. No special planning on when to leave the house or the office because of traffic. Another pro is Columbus is within 500 miles of 50% of the US population. Those cities include Chicago, New York, Philly, Pittsburgh, Detroit, Milwaukee, Charlotte, Indianapolis, Washington, DC. There's a ton. So you're never a far car ride. You have the means to visit one of those cities for any type of family or special occasions. Cons, you're gonna need a car to go anywhere. Unless you live in a downtown area neighborhood, this suburb scene here is pretty sprawling. So there's not much you can walk to, and we have hardly any public transportation such as subways or light rail. We do have a public bus system called CODA, but that's about it. And with the new people moving here, I've definitely started to notice more traffic congestion, not only in the highways, but in the feeder routes locals use to zip around the city. Now, I love driving up and down Riverside Drive between Dublin, UA, and the downtown, skipping the highways, but recently I've noticed more traffic backing it up as you get closer to Dublin for people wanting to go up and visit Bridge Park. Unfortunately, that's all the time I have for this video, but if you want more in-depth information about Columbus, Ohio, please comment the word CBus or check out the link in the description below. And if you like this video today, I know you're gonna love this one right here.